Pledge of Allegiance. If everyone will please join us in the pledge, and if Colonel, if you don't mind, please lead us.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everybody. Next, we'll have observe a moment of silence. If you're going to please join in a moment of silence. All right, thank you very much. First item on the agenda would be the approval of the agenda, and I believe we have one minor modification to the agenda, and that would be to add item 7D, discussion on the county human resource policy, and I will submit that to you guys for consideration. Is there any other alterations or additions to the agenda needed for tonight's meeting? Hearing none, I will move that we approve the amended agenda to add 7D. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Vice Chairman Hensley. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? All right. Agenda is approved. Next item on the agenda is our consent agenda. And our consent agenda is pretty mild tonight. It consists of our nonprofit funding request and approval of our special meeting minutes of April 4th, our regular meeting minutes of April 8th, and our special meeting minutes for April 29th, all of which we have had has been sent to us prior to tonight's meeting for our review. I will entertain a motion for the consent agenda at this time.
I move that we approve the consent agenda as it was presented to us.
All right, so we have a motion by Vice Chairman Hensley to approve consent agenda. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Wyatt. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? All right, consent agenda is approved. Our next item is going to be our public comment portion of the meeting tonight. We've got several folks signed up for public comment. So I will ask, we'll review the rules very quickly. What we need you to do when I call your name, please step up to the podium. If you would please state your name, and just for sake of purposes for us, so we know what community you live in, state what community you live in for us. And then at that point, our clerk will start the time clock. You have 3 minutes to express anything that you want to. We ask that you do it in a respectful manner. And our first individual this evening on the public comment sign-up sheet is Mr. Jeff Osborne. Jeff, please come on up.
Hello, I'm Jeff Osborne, and coming up today to talk about the property down on Gabriel's Creek, from the Gabriel's Creek community. Lower Gabriel's Creek, to be specific, the Neo compound down there where it's become a dump of all kinds of cars, just a bunch of stuff. It's kind of torn our community apart down there. It used to be a beautiful farm, and the folks there, Carl and Addie Thomas, were farmers their whole life, and they've left us now, but they were kind of the heart of our community and helped us all learn how to farm and learn how to be part of the community, really. But someone has moved in there, Zach Yancey with Neo Burrito, and he started out wanting to do a farm to table, but it's turned into a dump. And there's a lot of drug addicts down there, and a lot of young people, and it's a dangerous place. And our community, it used to be a place where we all walked and rode bikes, children were there, grandchildren, and people fished and hung out, but now you get to feel like you need to carry a pistol down there if you're going to go down there. And it's really tore us apart, and we have a whole group of people here today that want to talk about it too, and the different things that have happened to them personally, that's been involved with it. And, you know, I can just say it's, as a general contractor, it's a very dangerous place. They're stacking up walls, and like these big concrete walls that could fall over. They're not engineered at any point. And there's, you know, stacking containers on top of each other, putting cars and trucks on top of each other. They're letting, you know, it's become like an environmental dump. They're pouring it into our river there. It's just, I'm sure you're all aware of it. And I don't know how many of you have been down there to see it or not. But I know it's been on the county's mind, and we appreciate you getting involved with it. We appreciate the sheriff's department coming down, starting to patrol the area, and they've made arrests and things like that throughout the years. We've been dealing with this for about 10 years. So that's what I want to talk about it. Are you guys aware of it? I'm sure you are. But anyway, you know, there's a lot of folks that want to speak here, and
Time's up,
wanna
Mr.
say-
Osborne. So,
Huh?
I see your time is up, but we'll go ahead and
Okay.
we can get on to the next one there and let them speak. Thank you, Mr. Osborne. Next up on the list is Leah Osborne Vines.
So I'm one of the Osbornes that lives in the Palmer Ford community. I grew up on the farm across the river from the property that's being brought to your attention. Has anybody, who in the group up front here in front of me has seen pictures or visited the property? First, seen pictures, has anybody seen pictures?
So let's explain again how public comment works.
Yes.
Public comment works, it's not interaction.
Okay,
Public comment is allowed for the public to comment. And you're allowed to make any comments that you want to. It's safe to assume that we're aware of the situation, but otherwise, that's the most guidance I can give you right now. Is that okay?
that's fine.
All right, thank you.
So Jeff described the area. It's a farm that comes down to a road that borders a river, and I guess about 25 acres has become stacked up with large blocks as large as this seating area, multiple blocks of that size. All the dirt and the trucks and the oil and the gas are coming out into the road. When I visit my family's property across the river, I no longer feel safe. I stay in a bedroom on the bottom floor that's separate of the regular house. And because of all the things that I know that have occurred on the property, I no longer feel safe being in that home, or really with the window open, you know, what might happen at night. The other thing that's happened is we no longer walk that corridor. My family used to leave the house and walk. We can't do that anymore. So our life is dramatically deteriorated due to the conditions.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. Up next on the list is, I believe it's Konstantin Forstner. Did I pronounce that correctly?
Yes.
All right, very good. Come on up, sir.
I just want to add one quick thing, not much. Just purely not focus on the property itself, but on the road right beside the property. It is, when I drive by there, let's say 10 times, I can expect to be blocked about 8 times of 10. The whole one lane is blocked. And it's just that alone needs to be addressed, in my opinion. I just wish, me personally, that would be have some extra weight on it and be in your consideration. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Up next on the sign-up sheet is William Osborne. Mr. Osborne? Come on up, sir.
I own the farm across the river from Zach, and it borders his property. And I don't know how long it's been there, maybe 10 years ago now, that the first, when he just bought the property, I drove up in the driveway, and I was just going to tell him hello, and welcome to the community. And he came running down the driveway with a pistol, and it's been downhill from there. And because he's afraid we're gonna, I was gonna see too much, And it's like there are explosions over there in the middle of the night. I'm not talking about something little. I'm talking about dynamite that's going off over there. Something like a 50 caliber machine gun. I mean, it's nothing like a assault rifle or any of that stuff, And we're sick of it. And we want something done about it. And it's been going on all this time, and nothing's been done about it. And we want it to change. And we had a beautiful community, and now we've got a cancer in it. And we hopefully can get some help to get something done about it. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Osborne. Up next on the sheet is Scott Sheeran. Did I pronounce that right, sir?
Yes, thank you.
Good deal. Now, the next one I'm not going to get right, I'm afraid, but
That's my
we'll
wife,
address that.
Prima.
Prima?
Yeah.
Okay, very good.
Yeah, thanks for this opportunity. I'm with Will, what he said, the last thing, over the last 3 years, this thing has really escalated. And it's unbelievable what goes on there. And they do their thing all through the night because they're high. And I understood a number of years ago the place was busted for dealing meth or something like that. I don't know the facts, you have that at your disposal. But these people are working at night doing crazy things with industrial machines, and they're blocking the road for half a day or all night long. The road is 2-lane, and they've got this huge concrete wall, and the flood took half the road out. And so this past winter, I saw things like school buses coming down Lower Gabriel's Creek Road, and they like to have big bonfires, so they couldn't even get on their property. It was so full of junk. It's like a industrial hoarder's nightmare. And so they were having these bonfires right on next to the road. And I saw this school bus this winter on an icy road where half the road was ed away from the flood and hadn't been fixed yet, driving within a foot of a big bonfire. And I'm thinking to myself, where am I living? Where am I living? Is this the third world? Where are we? We're here in Madison County. It really shouldn't be like that. So it's unsafe. And I had a great talk with Mr. Garrison about this very issue a month ago, or I don't know, a couple months ago. And I want to encourage you all to take action on the 4 fronts that he mentioned. DOT, dealing with the road issue. They did a big cleanup to try to comply with something that you guys set for them, and it's filling up again. There's stuff getting dropped there all the time. I've seen commercial Weaverville, some DSW or some company dumping stuff on the side of the road in front of their compound, right? Like they've got some kind of business thing going on with that. I've seen them pumping, they've been doing all this digging because they want to do something, and they've got these ditches and trenches back up in there, and it's just filling with water because it's coming right out of the side of the hill, and they're just pumping that into the ivy, right? And the the fluids from all the machinery, the derelict machinery and stuff, and the batteries lying in the mud, and it's seeping across and going into the river. So there's environmental protection, there's DOT, there's the zoning piece, which he's trying to run a junkyard there or something like it, which can't be right in a rural agricultural zoning. And then there's the building inspection issues, and Danny Allen's been a great help over the years, helping me to calm down a little bit about this. So please, nothing good is gonna come from this. You've got to stop it somehow. And I realize in America, people have a right to do what they want with their property, but there are laws.
Thank you, Mr. Sharon.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Up next on the list is Prima. Sharon, go on up. Thank you, ma'am.
Everybody's made really great points. I would just like to emphasize the safety issue. I really don't feel safe with the people that are there. And yeah, it isn't a good feeling to live in a place where we came to be in a lovely rural community, and now we don't feel as though we can walk down the road. I'd also like to emphasize the pollution issue. It's just horrendous to see all of that going into the ivy. And also the noise. I don't know what the story is with the noise ordinance, but it is really intense to have that noise going all night long, and floodlights shining into our home so brightly that even with the curtains drawn, it still lights up our home. And it just makes living in that community no longer a pleasant experience.
Thank you, ma'am. Up next on the list is Connie Molland.
Hello.
How are you, Connie?
I am very well. Thank you for asking. I was here in March, and I had just gotten a letter from the Downtown Marshall Association sharing the high-level view of Marshall Magic Days when Marshall was going to reopen. And then in April, I came back and I had a little more information. And now it's behind us, and I'm just sharing that it was magical. It was beautiful. Sorry. First of all, after the last meeting, we had our Earth Week cleanup, which there was an amazing frenzy of volunteers showing up, planters and flowers and flower pots and benches, and it really looked beautiful in downtown Marshall when we got ready for the ribbon cutting. I also want to say thanks to everyone for getting the courthouse lawn looking good. It really looked beautiful when we had the ribbon cutting. A special thanks to Alan, Commissioner Wyatt, for coming out and speaking on behalf of the county. He did a great job. He introduced Sammy from the landfill. It was a really good idea to have Sammy there because Sammy had worked so hard with his team to take all the debris during the aftermath of Helene, and Sammy's born and raised in Marshall, and it was just beautiful. The whole thing was magical, from the ribbon cutting on Thursday all the way through Sunday. I know several businesses said that they had their best weekend ever. Flo's been around since 2010, and we had our best weekend ever. Madco's been around since, I can't remember, 2016, and they had their best 3-4 days ever. So it was really, really good. It felt good. The other thing that happened was on May 1st, several businesses opened up on that day. They had been working, and I stopped asking businesses if they were going to open because, you feel bad. Oh, I'm not ready. But they did open that day, so it made downtown feel very vibrant and alive. We still have a long way to go. We still have businesses and buildings that are not yet there, but I do know that windows went into Penland this week, and windows went into, or are in the process of going into French Broad Exchange, so super exciting about that. The other thing I want to do is I want to introduce the president of the Downtown Marshall Association Board. That is Kate Sinauskas with Star Taco. And next to her is our new director, Lisa Osherow. So we have a new face with the Downtown Marshall Association. And so Lisa and Kate, maybe me, I'm like a bad penny, I never leave, right? I'll probably be coming as well, but I wanted to make sure you saw these two ladies as well. So thank you very much for everything you've done for Marshall and Hot Springs. I was in there last week as well, dedicating a peace pole. It looks good down there too, so it's exciting.
Thank you, Connie. Thank you very much. Nice to meet you, ladies. Up next is Marlo Fry. Did I get that right?
Yes, sir.
All right. Yes, ma'am.
I'm Marlo Fry. I live on Gabriel's Creek. I'm new to this region. My husband and I have the privilege of finding some raw acreage. And for the last 8 years, we've been putting blood, sweat, and tears into our property. Meanwhile, watching Zach Yancey destroy this property. And it's been nothing but heartache seeing a pristine piece of property go the way that it has. To give you an idea of what it's like to live near him, I'm not even his direct neighbor. I live across the river, up the hill, and at nighttime when he is maniacally digging and digging and digging for hours all throughout the night, your bed will vibrate all throughout the night. Just to, I'm sorry, it's very exciting. He's made an impact on this entire area, and people who even just use the bridge can see that. And all of us are tax-paying citizens, and it would just be wonderful to see something happen. None of us can do things in a singular way. It's like the county has to do something to make change, and that's why we're here today. So thank you for hearing me.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. And our last person that has signed up is Chuck. And Chuck, I can't even begin to decipher the last name, so my apologies.
Do you want to try? I know it's a tongue twister.
I'm not afraid to try, but I'm not sure I can even make it out.
Okay,
So
it looks more intimidating than it is.
I'm going to guess Burisma.
That's very close.
Okay.
Burisma. My name's Chuck Burisma, and I'm also with this awesome crew. Unfortunately, we banded together because of all the reasons that everybody said. And I guess I wanted to start by saying thank you guys for giving us the opportunity to voice our opinions, and also for everything that you guys do for the county. So I really appreciate everybody. I guess, we got a long list, and not everything has really been stated, but I think the major things for me, I guess, is that everybody can feel safe in their neighborhood, that people can drive through, that it's not an environmental catastrophe. I guess the other stuff is kind of personal, but it's, just maniacal action happening all hours of the night. And all night, 3 or 4 vehicles with flashing lights, blocking the lane of traffic, and just seeing that through your closed shades. It just doesn't feel safe. And Postaline, his pile of hundreds of tires just washed down the street. Some of them still blocking some culverts. His vehicle is like one of the police car that had flashes on it, ended up on our little bank area on our property. And then a different neighbor said, yeah, you can get your vehicle out of there, but he chose to come in the middle of the night onto our property and slowly drag it out, bits and pieces everywhere. And that didn't really make me feel safe, so I called the cops. We tried to get things worked out. He was not there, but he left the machine there, whatever. It just feels like he's untouchable, and it seems just kind of ridiculous. And anyways, you guys probably all heard enough about this guy for tonight, but thank you all for hearing us all. Really do appreciate it. And if anybody wants to reach out to any of us, you got a lot of our names on there. Happy to talk privately. And we're here to help deliver solutions. So whatever we can do, I'm sure we'd all be into. And I know you guys kind of don't know how to find the right angle because it's a slippery predicament as far as things that he's actually doing illegally, potentially, or where the jurisdictions go. But I don't really appreciate you guys hearing me, and I'll keep it under that little 3-minute.
No problem at all.
Thank y'all for hearing us on all this.
All right.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. And thank you to everyone that spoke from the community. We understand what's going on out there, and just want to let you know we do hear you, and hopefully you'll see some progress soon. So, and I'll leave it at that because I'm violating the terms of my own spirit here by not interacting as we're supposed to. But anyway, up next on our agenda this evening, well, first and foremost, I need a motion that public comment be closed.
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Wyatt. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Vice Chairman Hensley. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor? All right. Public comments now officially closed. Up next on our agenda tonight is District Ranger for the U.S. Forest Service, Ms. Jen Barnhart. Jen's no stranger. She is here to give us a update tonight on the Appalachian Ranger District. Am I correct?
Yes.
All right.
Good. Yeah, thank you so much for having me back again. I think it was a little bit before Helene hit that I came with my last update, so definitely sad to be here to have to talk about recovery, but I have all good news, thankfully, for Madison County in terms of recovery on the Pisgah National Forest. So that's good news. But yeah, either way, we're here, and we're going to give you a little update. So if folks are not familiar enough with the U.S. Forest Service in your area, right? You guys have Pisgah National Forest in Madison County, but the National Forest is made up of 3 districts. So Appalachian Ranger District has 6 counties, so it's Haywood County, goes through Madison County, Buncombe, Yancey, Mitchell, and Avery. And then there's 2 other districts, which is the Pisgah Ranger District, and the main office is close to Brevard, North Carolina, and then the Grandfather Ranger District is out by Nebo and the Marion area. So the 2 districts that had catastrophic impacts were the Appalachian and the Grandfather. So if you look at our stats, we have nearly 190,000 acres impacted, so about 20% of our forested areas with a lot of vegetation loss. So with Madison Haywood, luckily, the vegetation loss is not that great in terms of that in comparison to the other portions of the district, for instance, over in Mitchell and Yancey, so that is good. And then we've had about 900 miles of our Forest Service roads damaged and 822 miles of trails damaged. But again, for Madison County, good news in terms of those impacts and the areas that we have been impacted in Madison County. I'll go over some of the good things that have happened to get recovery happening. It's a little small to here to read it, but some of our stats, so obviously when Helene hit, we would have had going out and doing some response immediately, trying to figure out public safety, getting access to folks that have access through the Forest Service lands to their private property. But a lot of our stuff, we've been prepared from storms from the past in terms of what do you do to go out and look at assessments. So roads are most important for us because of access, emergency access, private landowner access, and then looking at infrastructure from our recreation administrative facilities, all our trails, all that kind of stuff. So thankfully for us on the App District, we have 227 miles of our trails completely cleared. So in Madison County, the Appalachian Trail would have been a big one that got cleared real quick, thankfully, because of the Carolina Mountain Club and a lot of volunteers that have come out to do that work. And we ended up having 240 miles of our roads. Also, we've done all the assessments and cleared all those roads quickly. We also will have a road rehab contract coming through and hitting all our roads in all of the Appalachian Ranger District. So that's going to be awesome to keep working on our roads. And most vital, particularly for Madison County that we were focused on, is your local economy and community support, knowing that Hot Springs and Marshall had such large hits. We know that the French Broad is very important to your guys' economies. So Stackhouse, we're going to check out some photos here in a little bit, but yeah, that's been open. That's a big put-in for all the outfitters on the French Broad. And then Murray Branch picnic area, we've gotten that cleaned up and that's been reopened as well. So we'll check out some photos there. But one thing I did want to note is we are looking at our wildfire strategy in terms of all the fuel loading with all the change conditions down on the forest. And regardless if Madison County didn't have as much vegetation loss, we're looking at a whole strategy for all the Pisgah National Forest, including fuel breaks and how can we proactively put those in areas. We were doing that prior to Helene, but this is definitely heightened. We have a huge planning workshop next week that will be focused on trying to proactively strategize that, especially where there's wildlands, urban interface, and large assets and concerns. We don't want that type of disaster on top of what we've all experienced ourselves already. So that's a good thing to do that we have going on. Tanyard Gap, we had DOT reach out to us a while back, and we had gotten that cleared so that that could be a place for debris to go to. I had recently talked to Madison County Soil and Water at a meeting and let them know, yes, that's still available. DOT has not touched it. We reached back out to DOT to let them know. It sounded like they were coordinating with the county in some way, but I'll continue to reiterate, I went past there recently and it still hasn't been utilized. So if it's another area that the county needs to have debris go to because you run out of space, that's right off 2570. Tanyard Gap is near Rich Mountain Fire Tower. That helps give you an idea, but it's a large opening area. So just want to put that out there. We're here to work with folks as that work continues to come underway with the waterway debris and probably the private property removal. So we got that going on, and then we continue to work with y'all. The waterways debris removal, we have a contact that's in touch with the contractors. We have folks go assess and then give out some mitigations before the contractors go in and do the waterway debris removal because of some of the species that live amongst the French Broad River, and also just making sure we're still gonna have some flood resiliency there are some crucial pieces of woody debris that does help with flood in the future. So we're balancing both of those, and it's been good to work with the contractors so far is what I've been hearing from our point of contact on the forest. So that's been good news. All right, yep, as I've already said, all roads, trails, recreation areas in Madison County on the forest are all open. And so here's some good pictures of just showing Murray Branch picnic area. Folks had not wandered down there. Obviously River Road had a lot of impacts getting to that site, but could have been worse. The pavilions were good to go, but we had a lot of debris and sand and all kinds of stuff. Luckily, we got resources from off the forest to come. We had folks from the Midwest off of some national forests, like the Hiawatha National Forest, come with the whole crew and with their equipment and cleaned it all up. So it's ready to go. I saw lots of people picnicking and fishing and all that kind of stuff since we've opened it. So we did that all in-house. We didn't have a contractor come in and do that. We did it with Forest Service staff, thankfully, outside resources helping us. And for some reason, I'm not sure why that picture didn't pick up there when it transferred to y'all, but that's the boat launch. So we started that in January, trying to track it, knowing like March would be a key month for the outfitters to be getting on the river in terms of their economics. And so if folks are not aware, like that top picture where you see some debris and tires, that's 4 feet of sand. That was the one in that area that all my fire staff were available before the wildfire started hitting. They were in there with their equipment and they cleaned up all the sand, got down to dirt level, repacked it with all the gravel, and worked with outfitters to figure out dates, and Mountain True was helping too with some assistance in this site as well. We still have on that far left, you can see that retaining wall. That's where our bathroom is. We've had porta potties out there just so we could get everything operational, but we have a contractor coming hopefully sometime soon. They fix that remainder piece. That's the area, that part is just partially closed over there, but other than that, it's accessible for outfitters and private boaters that have come there and park. So we were happy to get that back in the hands for the economy from the county and those that live here. So our last slide here is just to give you an overall arching. It's going to be like 10 plus years of recovery on the National Forest. I call it Humpty Dumpty. How do you put Humpty Dumpty back together? Not that easily when it's a forest. But our huge recovery areas that we're focused on across the forest, and it's our number one priority across National Forest North Carolina. Our forest supervisor, James Malonis, he manages the Nantahala, the Pisgah, the Uwharrie, and the Croatan. And regardless, number one thing is Helene. It doesn't matter if you're on the Nantahala, the Uwharrie, or the Croatan, because they didn't have Helene impact so much. They all know that all our staff at our supervisor's office are to support us to get everything going on for the recovery. So the big things for us for recovery means clean water, safety hazards and risk reduction, access and infrastructure, community and economy, habitat, ecosystem health, recreation and cultural resources. So that's our main driving areas there. And one last good thing is that we did receive funding through the American Relief Act for us to do our recovery work from Helene on the National Forest, all of the Pisgah National Forest, which is just amazing. So that's the really, really good news. We're going to be able to keep doing stuff, not just, sometimes Helene hits and then it fades away and folks forget, but we have, long-lasting funds for us to be able to keep doing that work. And then last thing, we're here to help, so if there's anything in the county that y'all need support in recovery, I know we try to tie in with Hot Springs, but obviously Marshall, if there's anything, let us know. And if anything, you got meetings coming up and you think of us, we're your neighbors. Obviously the property, lots of private landowners, intermingled next to National Forest in Madison County, and I just want to make sure folks realize we're here to help. And if there's something that comes up, don't hesitate to reach out.
Awesome. Thank you, Jen. Anybody have any questions for Jen before we let her escape back to her seat? Jen, I guess at this point, it's too early to tell exactly what the plan is going to be for cleaning up the down trees and all that kind of stuff that you guys have. So I'm assuming that's what something that's going to address.
For down trees, if it's not in an area, if we have a large swath of down trees, our way to do that is through timber sales, so timber salvage sales. That means there's still value in a sense that a contractor would bid and get a lot of that wood out. We don't have large swaths to the point in Madison County where a salvage sale or access that makes sense. So we have all our salvage sales sold over. There's like one in Yancey, but there's a lot in Mitchell County. We have one in Buncombe. But y'all just don't have that large mass of mega blowdowns, like top to bottom. But obviously there's still loss of some vegetation in Madison County. So that's where that fuel loading, we look at changes in our tree vegetation, looking at aerial photography. But then we also can look at the fuel breaks. And that's literally where you're putting in like a large corridor line on the forest that breaks it out. So if you had a fire in that area and you didn't want it to get to the next ridge and the next ridge, where it's an area we're not able to get in and defend very easily or have initial attack, that's where we strategize, and that'll be that next step. It's impossible to get all the down trees on the forest, unfortunately, and some of it can be good. Or if you have openings in some areas, there's early successional habitat. So if you're a hunter, that can be something that's good there. But we'll continue to strategize on our reforestation and efforts there as we get more into past our infrastructure and public safety phase that we've been really focused on.
Cool. Thank you. Thanks, Jen.
Yep, thank you.
All right, our next item on the agenda is Finance Officer Carrie Ledford.
Good evening, gentlemen.
Hello.
So before you tonight, find budget amendment number 11. With this amendment, you will see donations to your library from the Friends of the Library in the amount of $2,555.58, as well as additional revenue in the amount of $10,000 to your animal shelter from the ASPCA to be used for vet care services. See the recording of insurance payments for both the Sprinkle Shelton building and for courthouse. And with the increase of interest, we're adding additional funds for capital expenses to the Parks and Recreation, to animal control, to maintenance, and to the tax office. Here too, find the recording of additional revenue generated by the Corson sales tax in the amount of $44,895.95. And all of these amendments are pending your approval.
sales tax money's off this time, huh?
Back down.
Yeah, last month was an anomaly, I guess. Anybody have any questions for Carrie? If there are no questions, I'll entertain a motion that we approve budget amendment number 11.
I so move.
Motion by Commissioner White. Is there a second? I'll second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of budget amendment number 11?
Thank you, gentlemen.
Yes, ma'am. Thank
Next
you.
is item B, which is April's financial reports. You'll see that we're at 83.66% way through FY '25. On the next page, you'll see that in our general fund, we've received 83.46% of our revenue, and expenses are at 63.23%.
So all of our, really, I mean, I think the main thing keeping us afloat right now is the fact that most, if not all of our department heads have done really good jobs on their budgets, and also the finance office, and trying to control expenses as much as possible since the hurricane hit. So, you know, there are tons of expenses that were forced upon us because of the hurricane.
Yes, sir.
The money to get reimbursed for that has been slow to roll in, but good news is some of that is starting to roll in a little bit, so.
That's correct. As well as the insurance payments.
Yeah, that'll help too. Of course, that all went right back out to the contractors that did the mitigation work, so. We didn't get to hold on to that for long, did we? Anyway, anybody have any questions for Carrie? All right, I think you're off the hook.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. All right, up next is topic number 6, general discussion, entitled Consideration for Madison County Board of Commissioners Assuming Responsibility and Duty of Madison County Board of Health pursuant to North Carolina General Statute 153A.-77. And Colonel, are you leading this or is Donnie?
Donnie will take the lead on this.
All right, Donnie, the floor is yours, sir.
Do each of you have a package of materials that was prepared earlier and had an opportunity to review?
Yes,
those
sir.
materials? So what I'm going to address is the legal process that a Board of County Commissioners can utilize regarding its relationship with, in this instance, I'm going to limit it to the Madison County Board of Health. So you have a statute in your package that is entitled 153A-77, which states authority of boards of commissioners over commissions, boards, agencies, etc. So of course, you are the Board of Commissioners, and this statute addresses your authority over what is generically referenced commissions, boards, and agencies. So within boards, commissions, and agencies is your local Board of Health. Presently, you're proceeding under what has been in effect probably the last 50 years, which is a separate Board of Health. It's made up of, I believe, 11 different members, and the statute states how those members are appointed to the board. Those members have to be engaged in certain activities, employment within the community. I think you're required to have a physician, you're required to have maybe a veterinarian, different folks from different fields of service. I know in the past there has been some difficulty finding folks within the community who are willing to serve in those capacities. I believe you probably even have some vacancies in board members right now. So what this statute does is actually allows this board to abolish the existing Board of Health and just assume direct control over the Board of Health. You can do that, there's a process that you do that. You will consider a resolution doing just what I said, to abolish the board and assume direct control. However, you can only do that if you give notice, public notice, that that is your intent. That notice has to be published in a newspaper of local circulation 30 days before you can take action to adopt the resolution. And at that meeting where you're going to consider adopting that resolution requires you to hold a public hearing and give people in the community the opportunity to express their wishes, their desires, either for the takeover or not. And then after you hold the public hearing, only then can you actually adopt the resolution, formally abolishing the board. If you do abolish the board, the statute requires that you appoint an advisory committee. The advisory committee would essentially be made up of the same people, not the exact same, but the same, in the same categories.
Same requirements.
Of the existing board that you have right now. If you do adopt the resolution, then you actually, at a portion of your meetings, like you're having right now, you would break it down into county commissioner business, and if you have any business that you have to exercise regarding the Board of Health, you would put that on your agenda and address that. I think, Jeremy, you're the existing Board of Health member now. So when you go to those meetings, and Matt, you were the former member, correct?
Yes, sir.
So you know what type of business the Board of Health has done in the past. You would simply exercise those duties as part of your county commissioners meeting. You would, the main authority that you would have, and the board's biggest authority is selecting who your director is, okay? And control over the director. The Board of Health exercises a lot of rule-making authority on the local level. There's not a lot of that. I mean, in your past service, you can probably count on one hand the times that you all have had to take action regarding rulemaking. A lot of it is just the director will run things by you. A lot of times that the director does not have to do, but they want to get a good feel from the board as to where you all are with that, more in an advisory capacity. You do not have, sitting as a board, you do not have any direct control over any employees, nor do you have any direct control over the budget for the Board of Health. You do exercise power over the budget in sitting in your position as a county commissioner because you have to approve their budget. Employees of the Board of Health are unlike your regular county employees because their employment, their discipline, their termination is all governed by the State Personnel Act. And the director will control all of that. They will appoint employees, they will discipline employees, they will terminate employees. The Board of Health has no appeal authority there. You do not sit in judgment of any type of employee. The health director, whoever that is, when it comes time for you here in business, if you so elect to take over, will probably sit in Mr. Honeycutt's place and we'll direct that portion of the agenda. You will have to have a clerk to the Board of Health, who, when you have that portion of the meetings, will have to take minutes, not of the county commissioners, but of the Board of Health. That would be someone that you would appoint in your capacity as the Board of Directors. So it's a relatively simple process that you go through to assume those duties. It's on the calendar tonight to determine whether or not you want to commence that process, and I'll try to answer any questions that you may have if you so elect to do that.
So essentially, right now, the Board of Health is a governing board. And we would become the governing board, and they would become the advisory committee.
That's exact. Yeah, you would take over the actual decision-making. You would govern, and that would essentially be in the field of selecting, discipline, all of the employment of the health director. And then tangentially to that, you would be making rule-making decisions with the Board of Health. The advisory board would just simply be there. If you have any questions of them or ask their opinion, you could ask for advice. You do not have to comply with that advice, but you do have to have the board.
And essentially, so we would be just taking the legal liability off the current board.
Yeah, you would be
I mean, basically.
assuming direct control, taking that under your umbrella. This is a statute that was passed, I think, in 2012 that gave counties the authority to do that. And I believe in my research, it showed that you can take direct control, you can also you can do a consolidated health board, which is more expansive. You can take it over, and instead of taking direct control, you actually appoint a broad board that would oversee all of your DSS, your health. It's called a consolidated board. That's much more expansive. You have the authority to do that. So you have two processes you can do if you want to take that away from the Board of Health. The majority of counties in North Carolina have assumed either direct control or formed a consolidated health board in some capacity. I think that's what my research showed that came out.
Say that one more time.
I think the majority of the counties in North Carolina have taken over, the commissioners have taken over some form of control, whether that's over the Board of Health, whether it's over the Department of Social Services, whether it's over both, or whether or not they have formed a consolidated health board to take over that control. So there's been, most counties that have active boards of health and have assumed more of a role of a direct control role.
Okay.
So does the health director answer to the commissioners, or would she could answer to the county manager?
She answers directly to, if you take it over,
Yeah.
she answers directly to you.
So she wasn't falling under?
No, she does not.
Okay, and you said, on this, you said Mandy would be the clerk, but we appoint
You
that
appoint
clerk,
the
so it
clerk.
don't have to be.
Yes, you know. And you could appoint, if you want to have two folks here, one being the clerk to the Board of Commissioners and one being the clerk to the Board of Health, you certainly have that ability.
And
I'm just telling you what you can do. I'm telling you what you ought to do.
and it abolishes the current Board of Health. Can we keep the same board if we choose, or do we have to abolish it and start over?
You can appoint whomever you want to.
If, assuming they're willing.
You
Sir.
can take all of them, you can take part of them, you can take none of them.
So currently, the way it's set up now, if somebody decides to sue the health department, the liability falls on the Board of Health, right?
Now, Board of Health has no money. If anybody sues you, it's gonna come out of the county's budget.
Right, I understand that, but they would be involved in, would they be involved in negotiations or?
Right now?
Yes, currently.
Certainly, yes. We just, in 3 or 4 years ago, we had an environmental health issue where someone thought that they were wronged and they sued the Madison County Board of Health as well as the county. I mean, that was resolved favorably, very favorably to Madison County. But if that same thing happened, you still have a health department, okay? So you could have a lawsuit filed against the health department, and they sued the health department. So, if a lawsuit comes up, it's not going to, it's probably going to be the same thing. Jeremy. It's just going to give, I mean, your health director basically governs the health department. Right now, you sitting as a board does not, y'all don't have any, there's nothing you can do about it. I mean, people can say to you all whatever they want to say about the Board of Health, but you have no control in any form or fashion. You have no responsibility for it, except that if there is any liability, the county pays for it. If you do assume responsibility, it gives you more of a say. I mean, it really does. So, you know, if you want to be a board that, what I think is, does not delegate to other people, but want to assume more of a direct control, then that's what this statute allows you to do.
So what you just said there, it not only gives us more of a say, but it gives the citizens of Madison County more of a say, because they will have elected officials.
Yeah,
over
and
the
they can
board.
pick up the telephone and call you and say,
Yeah.
hey, I want you to do something about this.
So it would put more accountability on the health department.
Well, obviously it would, yes. I mean, because, you know, your health director would be answering to you instead of to a Board of Health.
So when all these people call us, instead of saying, hey, you need to call Tammy, we could.
You're gonna field the calls, yeah, that's right.
I mean, you know,
We're
still.
gonna put that under vice chairman's
You
duties.
know, as a board, you know, you all set policy and you do those things. And in small counties, it's very difficult because your constituents know you, you know, and they like to pick up the phone and they like to call you. But when they call an individual member, they're not speaking to the board. They're only speaking to that individual member, and that individual member cannot speak on behalf of the board. And a lot of times it puts you, even though you're an elected official, in a very compromised position, because people call you, and you know, I live in Yancey, you live in Madison. You know most of the people who are calling you, you don't want to really say, sorry, I can't help you. You know, if you do that, you're probably not going to get elected again. So you try to be responsive. So you want to listen to your constituents. You can't tell them a lot of times exactly what you want to hear. But what you can do is you can say, I understand, you know, just like these people from Gabriel's Creek are showing up here. You want to be responsive to what they say. You don't want to say, hey, sorry, I can't do anything about this. So when you get those calls, you know, you want to say, county manager down there, you know, I want you to talk to him, express those things, and then, you know, you may check up with your county manager the next day and say, I got this phone call, you know, these people are concerned. You know, you need to address those needs. And even if you want your county manager then to report back to you what they found, you can do that. Now, right now, somebody calls you about a Board of Health problem, what can you do? You can say, call town, call health director, or call somebody down there. You don't have any control over that. It's not like you can call up the health director the next day and say, well, you know, did so-and-so call you? You know, you can't do that. So yes, in that way, it does give you a more direct link to be responsible. Now, on the other hand, you're creating a whole lot more responsibility and duties upon yourself. Okay? Right now, you don't have to do that. You've got an excuse to say, okay, sorry, you know, I wasn't elected to do that. But if you do step in and take over that role, you are taking on additional responsibility. So when those people call you, you can't say, can't do it. You know, you got to exercise your, you know, governmental duties and responsibilities.
And I will say, for the record, when people do call, in certain instances where I have, in an attempt to try to assist, can call Tammy or Dr. Adams in the past. I've been able to call Dr. Adams in the past as well and talk to him about certain issues too. So, not to say that there is no communication in its current form, but at the end of the day, we can't really do anything other than just solicit assistance.
This statute gives you the ability to be more directly involved in what goes on with your health department. Except employees. Yeah, you can't do that. No, you know, it's limited.
Which is probably a good thing.
Well, that's sort of the practice that you have with the county. I mean, you know, your county manager hires and fires, but you still sit in the role of being an appeal board in the event somebody disagrees with that decision. You don't even have that authority with the Board of Health because they're state personnel employees.
It's a social
service, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, and to some degree, the sheriff's office as well. So.
Yeah.
Anybody have any questions for Don?
I'm mulling it over.
Oh,
My head's hurt.
I sensed that you did, so that's why I was trying to give you time and space there.
So we have to notice this, I wrote down 30 days, is that correct?
That's right.
Statute.
Commissioner Lott.
30 days in advance of a public hearing.
And you have to have a public hearing, preferably at a regular meeting.
Okay. So what do you need to know?
You would need to say that it is, you want to run the notice of a proposed resolution to abolish, assume control, and appoint an advisory committee, and that you're directing the clerk to publish the notice, setting the hearing at whatever date you want to, provided that you can get 30 days notice ahead. And then I will prepare a resolution to have ready at that meeting. And then in order to, if you will vote on that resolution. Now, it may be up or down after you've had your public hearing, but you have to do the notice before you can even get to the point of voting on the resolution.
If we notice it for those 30 days, Attorney, may we have discussions with public and health department board members?
You sure can. I mean, that is just a prerequisite to being able to vote on the resolution. Even though you notice it,
We can have discussions with other professionals and.
you certainly can.
And just for the record, is 30 days based on the newspaper's advertising cycle?
It is.
So in theory, based on the way that the way the paper's published, it would probably go beyond our next regular schedule.
Probably next Wednesday, if you're gonna publish it in the local paper, it's gonna be your first publication day.
And I guess my question would be, does that have to be in the local paper, or can it be by
It
the
just has
mass?
to be in a newspaper that's circulated within Madison County.
So it has,
that
basically, it does have to be in
qualifies the
paper.
actual citizen or the, what is it, the Sentinel?
Mhm.
What counties in our general area, you said you've done some research. I'd like to.
I don't know, I just saw the, let me see if I've got that with. It just stated the number of them. I don't know if I kept that. I don't think they did not specify which counties had.
Probably Google that.
Yeah, it was a survey that was done.
I tried
by
to
the
Google it, but I must have
North
typed it in
Carolina
correctly.
School of Government. And I just remember reading it when I did my research, but I didn't. No, the majority of them that have, well, I'm not gonna say all,
Okay.
Commissioner White, I just don't know.
So that was from North Carolina School of Government?
It was.
Do we have any questions? Jeremy, any additional questions?
I think it's an intriguing thing to look into, but I also want to say, I don't want our current health department and current health directors to think this is a fashion session. I think Tammy's, she and I have agreed to disagree on a few things, but overall she's done a good job, and but I do think it's something worth looking, investigating. If Donnie says the majority of the counties in the state are doing this, and I'd like to look into that a little bit more.
So I guess my question is, now that you've had the opportunity to discuss it with the county attorney, is it the will of this board to table it and take it into further consideration, or is it the will of this board to move forward and advertise the 30-day period in order to achieve a public hearing?
But personally, I'd like to see it move forward and see what the go to a public hearing and see what people think about it.
How do we know if we can do that?
Because as a citizen, if I had trouble with a department, I would want to call an elected official instead of a board member that's not elected. And we get those phone calls anyway. But we're just passing the buck. And that don't make me feel good about it, and I know it don't make the citizen feel good about it, to call their commissioner and get passed off on somebody else. And I think Donnie had a good point with smaller counties, like we've got, like we have, 7 of those board members are professionals. 4 is citizens, so you go from a pool of thousands for a citizen position, but you go to a pool of 2 or 3 for one of those professional positions. So how, and I know they still be on the advisory board, but I don't want them making legal decisions. Something that's going to affect the county. I think we, as a commissioner board, I think we need to have the legal liability to what affects our counties. That's just my opinion.
All right, at this time, I'll entertain a motion that we do one or the other.
I move that we go ahead and start the process and run the notice.
So we have a motion by Vice Chairman Hensley. Is there a second? Bill second? Are you seconding? Bill's deferring, I guess. I think Bill was gonna do it, but you okay?
Yeah, I'm good.
All right, second by Commissioner Wyatt. That would be appropriate time for any additional discussion if there is any. Hearing none, we'll move to a vote. All in favor of moving forward with advertising for a public hearing in order to advance the potential idea of the board assuming the duties of the Health Department board, signify by raising your right hand. All righty. The motion passes, and we will begin that process. Let's get back to my agenda. The next item on the agenda is county manager portion of the program, and that's Colonel Rod Honeycutt. And Colonel Honeycutt, you have county manager update first and foremost.
As you come in front of you, you have bubblegum chart, and I'm going to use it kind of put a framework around the discussion tonight around FEMA actions and other actions going on the west side of the county. Starting with number 1 up on the top left, Hot Springs Library. The Hot Springs Library is waiting on county action right now, specifically to select a vendor to do the repairs and an architect to make the recommendations of the foundation of what needs to be repaired. Potentially, this project worksheet will be removed. Right now, it is not going to exceed the amount of insurance money received, which is $183,307. We think that between the donations to the library and in terms of material and money, along with what the county has received from the insurance, we will not make that threshold. I'll make that determination, give you a recommendation in the next week as we finish the quote selection from the vendors. Item number 2, the Hot Spring Library contents. That has been obligated from FEMA in the amount of $64,420. We should see that check arrive to the county coffers sometime no later than 1 June is what we're predicting, since it has been obligated. The Sprinkle Shelton building, you can see the cost to repair versus build. The county must make a decision to divest, repair, or rebuild. Well, we're not to that point yet. Tomorrow at 8:30, a team of FEMA inspectors will come in and do one final look. And at that point, it will go to the FEMA leadership to make a determination to provide the county $1.6 million or $3 million to use for the rebuild or repair of that facility. Item number 4, the sprinkler shelter contents. We had to withdraw that claim. The insurance money covered that claim with FEMA, so we had to pull that back. The Madison County Courthouse is in the same category as the Sprinkle Shelton building, as the county will have to make a decision to divest, repair, or rebuild. That has been moved forward to the CRC correction. That is pending more work from the county staff providing to FEMA to make that decision. Ultimately, it'll be a decision of $1.8 million to repair or $5.1 million to build a new facility in another location. We did have to send a relocation letter to FEMA for both those facilities, and it's to relocate the functions of that building, relocating the functions of that building to potentially a new public service complex. So we had to submit that letter this week, and that letter is complete. The Madison County contents for the courthouse is the same status. Barnard Park, we have received a quote, and we have provided that to the county attorney, and he's given us guidance. Every angle is the vendor right now that's been selected, as long as they can meet the FEMA requirements and the insurance requirements to move forward with it. The Ducket Top Tower, we had to readjust and take off portions of the tower because we do not own the tower itself. We only own the equipment on the tower. So we had to readjust that price. And you can see that that price of $524,974 will move forward. That has been pending an insurance peer review at FEMA for 6 days. Suspect that that will move forward, have the insurance review into the next phase. We'll see movement on that this week. On the Ducket Top Road, as you know, the Army National Guard completed the repairs on that. That has been waiting for 35 days at the FEMA queue pending mitigation. And they're going to put in some water speed reducers there in the amount of $12,000 to help the county. And that has been moving forward but slowly. Personal property debris removal. I'm going to direct your attention to the bottom of the chart right now. See personal property debris removal. We've had 125 applicants. 14 have been approved at the county, and emergency management officer Kate has 3 more to look at in that first batch we received. We have not been billed for debris take at this point, but we will see that come forward. The state has stood up a new program called the SMART program that is removing the responsibility to finance any debris and personal property debris removal. We get our in-briefing on Thursday whether or not we want to elect to move into the SMART program. There's benefits in having them take over the financial part of it, but we will lose some of the administration money that's associated with that. But more to follow. The next one is waterway debris removal. 514 sites across the county have been nominated. 89 to date have been approved. 561 linear feet have been completed, or the way that that's what's been approved, and 78,000 feet have been removed. Cubic yards, the way they explain it, it's 69,000 wash machines stacked on top of each other. You hear about a cubic yard, way to think about it, that's how much been removed. This week we found out that any of the U.S. Forest Service property along the French Broad, we are not eligible to nominate. The Forest Service will have to do that. So as we take care of that, the U.S. Forest Service knows. The U.S. Forest Service can either clean it themselves or hire a contractor. Right now, I can't tell you where they're at that point. But based off of Soil and Water's guidance, contractor's guidance, and our emergency management officer's guidance, we have started the process of putting 7 signs up that say enter the river with a caution, knowing that debris removal is happening, and we pass that to the county attorney to review and approve that sign. It's a prudent thing to do, knowing that that's going on. Next, with the temp facilities discussion on item number 12. The first trailer will pull out of Florida on Monday and arrive here at the fairgrounds next week. the contract for the site work and the utilities. Closed today, but of course we only got one bid, and it will go back out tomorrow for rebidding. And then at the end of that 7 days, we'll be able to select the one bidder or make a decision on who's the least and most responsive bidder to move forward. With that being said, you can see the timeline.
Least cost and most responsive, right?
I said it wrong way?
No, just making sure.
Least cost, most responsive.
We don't want the least responsive bidder.
But as you can see down there, right now what I'm projecting for the temporary courthouse, they'll begin staging here relatively short. Next advertisement will close on 21 May, between 22 and 23 May. We'll do negotiations on the contract. Forecast work site here to begin on the 27th of May and last through the 13th of June. That's putting the 18 tractor trailers together with the modular configurations that will start on the 19th. But right now, I'm not estimating that we will be able to have court until sometime around the 28th of July or the 1st of August would be the best case scenario. And if all the stars line up.
So we would maintain this facility as the court until that facility is able to come online, correct?
Yes, sir. Which plays into the, I'm going to take a break for the covered arena, right now to the right of that, because right now we've general agreement with the fairground that we will be off of the top shelf to make sure that we have the rodeo by the 4th of July, but it's also the parking area for the tractor trailers as they come in. Contractors know that, and we're all working together to try to sequence it to make sure we're off the top shelf in time to have it the 4th of July. That contract for the covered arena, the county attorney finished his review on it today. I will tomorrow send it to, with my endorsement, to the firm who is doing the work, and we should see work commence here probably next week, see them up. The main goal is to pour footers between now and July 4th, and then begin phase 2 of the next, get the covered arena up. So progress on it, not as fast as we wanted, but it's moving in that direction. All right, back to the TIF facility. Its contents, $278,000 of contents, judge's desk, jury, all their accoutrements to go with 25 office spaces. You can see that all will be FEMA reimbursed. I had to add one new one on here, and that's because on March the 24th, the rules changed. It's now 90-10 reimbursement. It was 100% reimbursement from FEMA. It's transparent to us, we won't see it, but in FEMA's mind, anything done after March 24th requires a new project worksheet. So this list will grow for work that happened after March 24th. Gentlemen, I'll pause there. One last thing, we're talking FEMA. In the hazard mitigation grant program, we still have 17 homes or addresses listed in that program, pending FEMA's approval and state approval to ask us if we want to assume those positions. Those addresses, one of the ones that their emergency management officer brought up is, and we brought this up to the governor this week, we want to put an access ramp below their dam and above their dam. And we can do that with the property that's coming on board. We can do that with a gravel boat ramp right now, but I think we need to try to stretch that in to put something more fixed facility up. If we're going to keep it there and not just have gravel there and make it nice, we'll submit that through the appropriate channel up to the governor. He seemed receptive of it this week. We'll see where it goes from there. All right, General, subject questions. That's everything I've got off the FEMA update and county projects.
I saved y'all a bunch of time for leadership roundtable in the morning. Yes. Any questions for the Colonel?
All right, General, transition item 7B, county on surplus property. Right now, we received a bid of $2,000 for a .26 acre. It's a $74,000 property, 74,875. And right now, your decision tonight is to accept, reject, or provide a counter offer.
So this is a 1/4 acre of land.
Yes, sir. PIN number 9861186574.
So at this point, this was a bid we had previously approved, advertised for upset bid. No upset bids came in, so now It's on us to make a final determination as to whether we want to accept the $2,000 and put the property back on the tax rolls, whether we want to reject it, or I think we still have the option to counteroffer. Is that correct?
Does this bidder own property that joins this?
I believe I recall that.
Because I mean, 2 6 acres, we could keep doing it. I move that we accept the bid and put it back on taxes.
So we have a motion by Vice Chairman Hensley to accept the bid. Is there a second? Second by Commissioner Wyatt. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Should we transition to item 7C, boards and appointments? Tonight we have 6 vacancies to discuss. Chairman, I'll turn it over to you until we get to those last 3.
All right.
And I'll take those.
Very good. So first, I think we can do these two, they're both of them are Library Board of Trustees. Library Board has recommended that Annie Yount and Beth Honeycutt be reappointed. They have submitted the appropriate paperwork by recommendation of the library. One is Beth Honeycutt's Mars Hill, Annie Yount is Hot Springs. This time I'll entertain a motion on the two, on Annie Yount and Beth Honeycutt to be reappointed to the Library Board of Trustees for a 3-year term.
So,
Motion by Vice Chairman Hensley, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Wyatt. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? All right. Now, the next one is a vacancy on the planning board that was, I think this is Lee Wiles. So unfortunate, this one's come up because of the unfortunate passing of Mr. Wild. And this is to finish out his term, which will expire in December of 2026. And this, let's see, in regards to the planning board, we've got a list of applicants below us, and at this time I'll entertain a nominee.
Chairman Wector, I'd like to place that nominee, and I'd also like to say Lee Wild was a friend of mine, very close friend of mine, and I appreciate him and his family and the time that he put into this county and the volunteer hours that he put into it. He loved this county, and it's been a tough loss, and I have picked up the phone to call him 2 or 3 times since his death just by habit, and I miss him, but continue to pray for his young children and his wife, who is continuing to heal. But at this time, I'd like to make a recommendation that we put Jeff Riddle on the planning board.
So I have a motion by Commissioner Wyatt to appoint Jeff Riddle to finish out the existing term. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Vice Chairman Hensley. Any discussion?
I would just like to echo what Alan said. This is gonna be some big shoes to fill for this position. Lee was a great asset. He was knowledgeable, skillful, and on that planning board, and he will truly be missed in the county and on that planning board.
Cannot disagree one bit. Appreciate Lee's commitment to the county, and he was always one of the first ones to step up whenever anybody in the county needed help. He will be tremendously missed in the community and countywide. Any additional discussion? Hearing none, we'll move to a vote. All in favor? All right, Jeff Riddle's been appointed to that unexpired term.
All right, gentlemen, for the last 3, the Public Safety Board, the town leadership have provided the following names. For the town of Hot Springs is Dan Myers. For the town of Marshall, Kenny Brown. And for the town of Mars Hill, Waldo.
Nathan Waldo.
Kenny Brown for Marshall, you said?
Yes. Those are 2-year terms, and 2 of the gentlemen have been filling those seats now. Chief Brown came in with the unfortunate passing.
Correct. All right. So, and so Chief Brown and Chief Waldrop are already serving, so those would be reappointments?
Yes.
And then Dan Myers is a new appointment for Hot
He was
Springs.
serving too.
Oh, I'm sorry.
He was already serving.
Okay, my mistake. All right, so we're reappointing all 3 individuals that currently represent the towns on that
Yes.
board. And that's with the town's blessing, each of the individual towns' blessings. At this time, I'll entertain that as a slate to reappoint those 3 gentlemen.
So moved.
Motion by Vice Chairman Hensley. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner White. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? All right. And finally, item 7D.
Hey, John, I'm gonna ask the HR Director, Brandy, to come forward on this one, help me in this discussion. This won't take long, but as you're coming up, Brandy, Jim, I want to point your attention to the bottom right-hand side of this chart, because there's a little bit of, I want to make sure that the citizens know and you know, to date, we've received $5.2 million. That's $2 million from insurance, $1.6 million from FEMA, and a $1.6 million loan that the state has provided. We have spent $2.5 million, and we have $2.7 million that will go towards FEMA-related expenses. But we do have quite a few large bills coming up with the arrival of the courthouse, the temporary courthouse and the facilities. Well, it looks like we have 2.7 million. That 2.7 million is pretty much obligated very quickly. Good news with the temporary courthouse, now that we've hit 1.6 million, we can send a letter requesting the remaining portion of that temporary courthouse, and it don't go through FEMA, it goes to the state. So that money will turn around much sooner. But the finance director will tell you that operating capital is very critical right now as we negotiate these big bills. Gentlemen, so your questions, we'll move on to 7D.
Any questions?
I just don't feel good saying that we've received $1.6 million from the state when it's actually a loan.
That's true. It is a loan. It is a bridge mitigation loan. That's a true statement. Second round is open. Well, we can, yeah.
I know.
I'm keeping my fingers crossed.
Yeah.
Traditionally, just for the sake of everybody listening, traditionally those loans are forgiven. It's not a guarantee that there will be, but traditionally they have been in the past.
And the second round of the state loans is opening up by June 6th for us to submit other applications. And I'll provide that in the recommendation of the board to consider that. So the last topic is a portion of our human resource policy. Right now, there is a stipulation in there that pertains to nepotism that restricts the county's ability to hire some of our workforce, as we have young men and women moving into the workforce, and this small county, I'm requesting that the board read the language on page 2 and allow the county manager, the director, and the human resources director to make a decision on whether or not it's appropriate to hire an individual based off of family relatives working in the same department. But in no case would a family member be in charge of that person, of that relationship that they may have. And I'll turn it over to you for anything that I may have messed up there.
No, I think that's pretty much sums it up there on page 2. It's proposed verbiage to potentially replace the current section in the personnel policy that's attached to your pack there. I've highlighted the definition that's mentioned in section 5.06. That's currently in the personnel policy. Nothing, of course, has been altered or changed in the current. This is just recommended verbiage, subject to your guidance.
I'll defer to the county attorney real quick. There's no requirement for us to have an nepotism policy. I think it's good to keep the backbone the way we introduced it here. not any guidance for the board to consider as we go into this?
No, there's not a legal requirement that you have to have an anti-nepotism policy. A lot of large counties do have those. It creates a burden on small counties because you have a limited number of employees that are available to work in the county. A lot of those folks gravitate toward, if you're in the same family, gravitate toward the same kind of employment. And so you really tie in your hands by making a mandatory requirement that you cannot do that. It's much, much better to do it on a discretionary basis. And, I have drafted similar policies that allows for discretion for my other governmental clients, and they do not have a mandatory, you can't do it. It's good practice.
So the discretionary test will be a three-pronged process with the county manager, that department head, and human resources, all three having, and for lack of a better term, an equal vote in the process?
Yeah, and they can just decide whether or not circumstances in this instance, they should hire that particular
And
person.
the current policy says if us three can't come to a united decision, we bring it to the board for your consideration.
So if the three can't, it's not a majority, the three have to be unanimous. If the three are not unanimous, then it comes to the Board of Commissioners for a final decision. Okay.
Gentlemen, I need that, to make that change, I'll need that, in the form of a motion and a vote for the board, pending your guidance.
I'll make that form of motion that we adopt that.
So we have a motion by Vice Chairman Hensley. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Wyatt. At this point, I'm going to ask that we have a quick pause here just so I can read it over one more time. And we'll give everybody else the opportunity to do the same.
So we're not changing the policy, we're just adding that it's your discretion, pretty much, yeah.
It's an addendum to the policy, I guess would be the best way to say it. We're actually adding another layer to the existing policy to allow the discretion of the county manager, the human resources director, and that individual department head that would be responsible for the supervision of that employee. So, having read it again, I don't have any additional questions. Anybody else, any additional discussion or questions for the Colonel? No. All right, hearing none, move to a vote then. All in favor? All right.
Mr. Chairman, subject to questions or guidance, that completes my portion for tonight and all items on the agenda.
All right, anybody have any questions for the Colonel at this time? At this time, I'll entertain a motion, we adjourn.
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner White, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Hensley, all in favor? Vice Chairman Hensley, I'm sorry. All right, we stand adjourned.